Alright guys, welcome back to this learning module. Today we're going to talk about how can we achieve a de-normalized data architecture, right? So this is the 3 raw mapping file that we have. And now what we're going to do is we will use only 2 Excel files to run our de-normalized data architecture, right? So now let's create the first mapping file. I'm going to create a new Excel file here, and I'm gonna rename it to master mapping. All right. So let's copy this empty Excel file again, paste it over, and the second Excel file will be the master template, right? So what we're gonna store in this master mapping file is actually the 3 mapping files that we have earlier. All right. So we're gonna consolidate all the mapping files into one single master mapping file. All right. So I'm gonna open this country mapping file. So I'm gonna copy all the data from here, paste it over to the master mapping file. And I'm gonna rename it to country. Okay. Now I'm gonna add in a new sheet here. Let's go back to our raw data, open the map file. Let's copy all the data we have here, paste it over to our master mapping file, and we're gonna rename sheet 1 to month map. Alright, let's add in a new sheet again, go back to our raw data, open the sales rep, and let's copy all the data over here, paste it into our master mapping file, and we're gonna rename sheet 2 as sales rep. Alright, so now that we have created our master mapping file, let's open our master template file. Alright, now what we're gonna do here is we are going to store all the metadata we have here into our master template file. So this master template file is actually for Qlik to consume all the metadata that we have in our master mapping file so that we can create a continuous looping to extract all the information that we have in this master mapping file. Alright, so now let's go back to the master template file, and the first column here, let's begin with our source file. Alright, so our source file will be our master mapping file, right? So I'm gonna put in master mapping file, right? And the second column will be our table. Alright, so this table here is actually the sheets that we have in our master mapping file, right? So the first sheet will be country, right? So let's key in country here. And the next column will be our new table name, which I'm going to put in as rename column. Alright, so I'm going to rename it to extract underscore country. Okay, so this rename column is for Qlik to store the table within the QED format, right? So I'm going to put in E, which stands for extract. Once Qlik extracted the country table, it will store all the information into E underscore country QED format file. Alright, so for the source here, it's pretty straightforward. So let's copy it over. And the second mapping table will be our month map table. Alright, so I'm going to copy month map here, paste it over. And the name that we'll be storing this table will be E underscore month map. Alright, now moving on to the last mapping file that we have, we're gonna copy master mapping file, paste it over, and the mapping table will be our sales rep table. I'm gonna copy sales rep and I paste it over, and I'm gonna rename it to extract underscore sales rep. Alright, now that we have this table here, let's save this table and also our master mapping table. Now let's go back to our qliksense desktop, and I'm gonna go back to our load script here. So instead of doing a normalized data structure here, I'm gonna comment everything in this section here. Let's create a new section, and I'm going to call it the normalized structure. Alright, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna load in our master template file. Alright, so go to the folder that you have saved the master template file. Let's select this table here and let's click on insert script. Alright, let's rename this table to master extract. Alright, now what we're gonna do next is we're gonna create a variable to detect the number of rows that we have in this master extract table. Okay, number of rows, single quote, put in master underscore extract, right? Don't forget the semicolon right behind here. And let's use a trace function here to check if there's any values that has been captured in our vRow variable. Okay, so I'm gonna put in number of rows, colon. Don't forget to put in the semicolon. Let's load our data here. And we can see the number of rows here is reading 3, which is exactly what we have been populated in our master template file. Alright, now let's click on close here. And now I'm going to create a for loop here for I equal to 0 to our v row here. Let's put in -1 because we're starting from I0, right? Now, the next step is to create variables to store all the values that we have in our master template file. Okay, so I'm going to use the pick function here. So I'm going to pick the source column here, and the rows to be picked will be our iterator, and the table to be picked from will be our master extract table. Okay, add in a semicolon here, copy this line, paste it over. I'm gonna change it to v table here, and let's change the source to table, and let's copy this line again, paste it over to a new line. For this rename column, let's copy, paste it over in this new variable here. The value to be picked from will be our rename column. Alright, so once we have this variable has been set up, I'm gonna use this new variable here, and this will be the table name for my new extracted table. I'm gonna load in all of the columns from our master mapping file. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this folder path here, paste it over, and I'm gonna change this to master mapping file. Okay, now let's copy the next line here, paste it over, and I'm gonna change the table to our v table variable. Right, now since we have the source data in our master mapping file, let's copy this variable here, and we're gonna replace our master mapping file with the new variable that we have created, right? So if we go back to our master template file, this is our source column, alright, which is actually our master mapping file, right? And since this is a for loop, it will begin extract the mapping file one by one based on the table that we have input in our master template file. Alright, now let's continue with the script here. I'm gonna store our table into, let's copy this path here, paste it over, and I'm gonna change our master template with we rename variable. Okay, and also remember to add in our QED format. Okay, now let's add in a bracket, QED here, add in semicolon, and before we move on to the next line, let's store this into a new folder called as the QED folder. Alright, so this is the complete script here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in the next iterator right here. Okay, so now let's try to load in our data. As we can see here, we can see all of the mapping table has been loaded into our load script. And let's close this window. Let's check if our table has been stored into the QED folder. Alright, now let's go to the folder path that we have located. As we can see here, the QED folder has been created. Let's open this folder here, and we can see that all of the mapping files has been stored into QED format. Alright, so this is how we leverage the power of de-normalized data structure to create a very sophisticated way of designing our load script. Okay, as we can see here, we are not using the first method here, which is to create all the mapping files line by line, but rather we use variables to manipulate our load script. Alright, so yeah, that's all for the lesson for today. In the next tutorial, we're gonna learn how to convert all our QED mapping files into Qlik mapping table. Alright, so yep, that's all for the lesson for today. Thanks for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next module. Thanks and bye bye.